Big F, this one's for you, buddy. Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Revealed. If you've been following along with our Cambridge project, you would have seen that there's a ton of millwork going into that home, and we've skipped over a lot of it pretty quick. So let's take a couple minutes now to kind of dig into some of the details. So right here in front of me, we have this long run of office cabinetry. This is about 18 feet long, and it's going to get a full countertop. We're kind of in the middle, as you can see, of setting everything up. So it's going to get a long countertop, and in that countertop is going to be a channel that's cut out about 14 feet, and it's actually going to get some galvanized steel trays. The homeowner wants to plant a few things like herbs and what have you in his office. And then it's going to continue around into this L shape. So there will be a desktop that comes off the edge right above this cabinet, coming all the way over about another 10 feet or so. And there is an interesting detail in that desktop. It's actually stepped, so it looks like 2 layers, but it is just going to be one, and it's going to actually marry right into this groove that we have here. And we'll talk a bit more about that here in a second. But at the end of this desktop is going to be a cabinet that's going to house a lot of the AV equipment that butts into a knee wall, and it actually overlooks the entire space. So the office is up on a loft area, looking right down into the kitchen and the rest of the house. So a pretty cool and unique space. There's a lot of metal truss work in there, so really neat space. So down on the end over here where those doors are, we're gonna have the desktop. So the desktop, let's pretend that this is it, is actually going to marry right into this channel that we have in between the drawers and the open cubby spaces of this office storage. And I mentioned that there was kind of this notch or tiered layer effect going on with the desktop. So this here would be that top layer continuing all the way across, and the second layer is actually going to come down in and butt right to the top of the case above those doors. We do have gaps accounted for everywhere, so door clearance and drawer clearance won't be a problem. And while I have this here is a drawer front. So you can see we've gone ahead and actually notched out for the hardware. All of the drawers in the office are going to get this edge pull. So we go ahead and notch these out here in the shop before paint so that we can get a correct fit without risking damaging the finish later on in the process. Everything is done and fit, cleaned up right here in the shop prior to getting painted. And one of the questions we do get asked a lot is, when doing this, do we account for paint? And the answer is yes, we do. So if we were to come across here, our nail does catch right on that edge, leaving just a little bit for that paint buildup, because we know that there is going to be a little bit of buildup. So we just want to make sure that we are kind of catching a fingernail so that our handle doesn't sit below that paint line. Because this run of cabinetry is so long, we weren't able to build it all in one piece. And if we built them in individual boxes, we could have assembled them on site and we would have had a lot of visible seams. So one of the solutions that we came up with to kind of give it a little extra decoration is this chamfer detail in between the cases. Now, like I said, that helps hide the seams as well as dress it up just a little bit, giving it a little bit extra detail. So the intent with these cabinets is for them to remain open and to be able to see this frame, if you would, around them. And we didn't want that to change when going into cabinets with the doors. Although there is a material change on the inside of that cabinet, we wanted to keep the look consistent. So the solution we came up with for that was to keep the frame of the cabinet going around on the top and the sides. This was to help prevent being able to see in between the gap here and seeing that material change. And same thing with the bottom, although it would have been much more difficult to address that material change issue. So we actually just went ahead and added a kerf in the bottom of the door to match the bottom of the case here. And if we come up over here onto the bench, we might be able to see that a little bit clearer. You can see the intent is the same here, where we have this inset looking door where the sides and the top run proud. These side pieces actually look much longer than what they're going to be. These do go down to the floor, and we don't have the base onto this cabinet yet. So once we do, the top of this cabinet here and the top of our end panel will be on the same plane. So we have the same thing here where we needed to continue this 3/4 frame around the door. So we just went ahead and added that kerf into the bottom of the door. Once everything is painted, it's all going to blend a little bit nicer. Yes, we will have some seams along the sides, but it still continues to give us that kind of framed inset look around the whole door. This here is that AV cabinet. So we needed to make sure that we had proper airflow for this cabinet. So to pull the cool air in, we actually notched the front here so that when the doors close and the equipment's all in there, we can still pull air in up from under the baseboard without having to see it while the door is open. And to let the hot air release, we've drilled a series of holes in the top. This is going to allow the hot air to escape inside this offset frame detail that we've added to the top. This is going to match kind of the same notches that are in the actual countertop, keeping everything aligned on the same plane. So we have a lot of really nice clean lines happening here, and everything matches and is consistent. So moving on from the office, we can go into the den. Actually, one more thing in the office. We used the Legger boxes throughout this project, and we didn't change from that here in the office. So again, use the Legger boxes, just a much shallower application here. Here we have our den cabinetry. We've been referring to this as the tall cabinetry. There are several other areas in the den that we were putting millwork, and this is kind of the workshop area. So right about here is actually another set of bifold doors, and behind that set of doors is going to be another desktop with some more storage space for the homeowner to have. And this is more of a utility kind of area for him. It's just going to be storing a lot of stuff here, so he needed quite a bit of storage, and here it is. There's quite a bit here. So a couple of the details here. Everything's just kind of roughed into place, but you can see we do have a small flat crown that will come out and run across over the fillers. I always like to keep a little bit of separation from my crown and my fillers, pulling that crown about 1/8 inch to 1/4 inch forward of the fillers. I never like to land two pieces on the same plane in an application like this. There's no great way to cover up that seam, and by pulling that crown forward, we get that separation. Gives us a nice terminating finished edge. So in the corner here, this filler actually kind of serves a dual purpose. Because these doors here are actually going to be 4 bifold doors, we need to make sure we have enough structure in the jamb to support those doors. So this here is a solid 3 inches of maple. This will give us plenty of support, and the reason we did it that way is to actually allow us to keep our 2-inch reveals consistent. These are pieces that are going to be finished by our cabinet finisher. They're not pieces that are going to be finished in place by the painters. So we want to make sure everything has a cohesive look and will still be able to structurally support those doors. Another unique thing about these cabinets is they do actually get a toe kick, so it will raise up off the floor another 4 inches or so. I know these pieces on the ends here, the fillers, look quite long. They're not cut to size, and they are a little bit long to account for that 4 inches. However, when the doors are all on here and they're all closed, you're not going to see that toe kick. This is actually designed to have these lower doors run almost all the way to the floor, covering up that toe kick. And the reason we wanted to keep the toe kick, hello. Oh, just trying to film revealed, you know. And the reason we want to keep that toe kick is because, again, this is a utility kind of area. It's very large open storage. You are going to want to get right up into this cabinetry to reach inside there. You don't want to be having to awkwardly reach over because you can't get your toes up into those cabinets close enough. So that's why we're not able to put these bottom doors on at the moment while it's standing up. When we had these laying down, we were able to fit all the doors and get the fillers on in their appropriate locations, and dominoed as well as lamelloed. A question we do get often is, how are we attaching our fillers? So we actually do it in a couple of different ways. So let's take this one off here. You can see that this one, we are using a series of dominoes as well as lamellos. We like to use both so that we get the, alignment and structure from the domino, and we get that snapping and holding power from the lamello. So here in our shop, we would call this an applied filler. One of the other things that we often do to make this a little bit easier to install is we'll actually end up offsetting another domino a little bit further down. So that way we can set the dominoes into place on the case, but keeping our scribe edge off of the wall. This will allow us to set our scribe depth from the overhang on the inside of the case, and then use our scribe alongside the wall to draw a line right on the face where we need our scribe to be, and then cut accordingly. Another type of filler that we like to use is just something like this, where we have two pieces of wood that are mitered together. This gives us a seamless look. We're able to set the depth off of our cabinet wherever we want it, provided we have enough distance here on our pieces, as well as give us ample room to scribe. So something like this would actually get screwed into the side of the case, typically from the inside, and again, we always try to hide these screws. And then the goal is to flush it out on the same plane as the doors. This application is a little bit more difficult to scribe, but it is necessary in some applications. So those are the two filler styles that we like to use here. Now let's move on to the last thing I'm going to show you guys today, and we'll just go over it briefly. We've done a previous video where we got pretty involved and in-depth on how I built these, but we talked a lot about the larger version, and here it is. This is also going into the den. This is just under 10 feet of bookshelf space. So we have these super large beefy shelves, 2¼ inches thick, and same with the uprights. A lot of support on here. This is going to hold quite a few books, so we wanted to make sure that it was very structural. The frame is already installed on site. That's going to be painted with the walls. All of these pieces here are going to go over to our finisher and be finished in a different color. So we have this nice two-tone kind of bookcase going on. It also gets a toe kick, so it'll be up off the ground about another 4 inches. And same with the top, it'll get a nice mitered top piece as well, really giving it a nice clean finished look. When doing joinery like this, where all of these are lap joints, we don't want to make them super snug here in the shop. Remember, we're adding finish to both sides, as well as when these are off, they're actually going to be painting the whole thing. So we're going to get some paint buildup on the inside of here as well. So we want to make sure that we're allowing a little bit of extra wiggle room for that paint. All right guys, so this is going to wrap it up for this episode. If you guys are enjoying this series, could you do me a favor and share it with a friend? Let them know what we're up to. And please, if you have any more questions, drop them in the comments and let us know. We go live every week, usually on a Friday, and answer these questions. So here is the Q&A from last week. Enjoy.
Another Q&A here revealed. Let's jump right in. A couple quick questions from the YouTube video last week. What is the square footage of the shop?
I think it's about 2,400 square feet. It's roughly 25 or 24 by 100. So it's long and narrow, but we make it work.
How many square feet would you like to have?
3-4 times that. Yeah, you know, somewhere 6,000 to 10,000, I think, for what we're doing and what we plan to be doing. You know, we have a lot of, I guess, like future goals, right? 5-10 year plans where we want to have, you know, several guys here in the shop, several benches set up here, potentially even bring finish in house. That would be a huge one. That will take up a lot of space on its own. So we're looking for quite a bit more space. Yeah.
All right. Where's your chisel holster? Where does that hail from?
Oh, this question so many people asked, right? I had quite a few people actually reach out to me. So I got it on Etsy.
Oh.
And that's it. I know there's a ton of sellers on there. I told a few guys I'd look it up. I haven't. But there's a lot of different options on Etsy.
Perfect.
Maybe I'll have to make my own line of chisel holsters after this, huh?
Yeah, I know a leather guy. You can get it at a price.
Perfect.
The reason for choosing a 6-inch sander over a 5-inch sander?
Covers more surface area. You know, a lot of the stuff that we're doing is larger flat panels, countertops, end panels. So it's able to cover a lot more surface area and kind of keep our overlapping patterns to a little bit more of a minimum. Not that there's an issue with that, just really it's just surface area coverage. You know, and one of the things you do have to be careful about is when you are using a 6-inch sander, if you're sanding, you know, like the 2.5 rails and stiles for our doors, you want to make sure you're keeping your sander flat. You don't want it to kind of tilt either way, right? And kind of round over those edges. And then it's the same is true if you're sanding the edge of the door, because in our case it's 1 inch. Some of you guys might be, you know, 3/4 of an inch or any thinner profile. We want to make sure that we're not rolling that edge. Either way, even with, say, a 5-inch sander, there's still quite a bit of difference there.
Right.
It's very easy to rock that sander one way or the other and kind of just round over that edge and just really just torch it and ruin the piece.
Someone chimed in, is square footage the main reason we don't do finish in shop currently?
Yeah, we don't have anywhere to put it, and we also actually don't have the manpower for it. It's something that I've done in the past. Ian, another guy that works here in the shop, has done it in the past as well. So we both know how to do it, but we don't have manpower to do it either. Right. But we also haven't looked for anybody to bring on because we don't have the space to set up a booth.
Okay. Sharpening chisels.
Sharpening, that is something
That's a loaded question.
I am horrible at.
Loaded question. A lot of different answers depending
There's a
on
lot.
who you ask.
Yep. So we have a diamond grit, a diamond set here. It's got 4 different grits for.
So is that something you buy on Amazon or?
Yeah, you can get them on Amazon, Woodcraft, all sorts of different outlets have those. There's a few different types of sharpening stones as well. A lot of them start to wear, I find, but there's a whole lot out there that don't. And then we have the diamond ones that are mixed in with some metals as well, so it actually lasts quite a bit, and they're easy to use.
I'm gonna throw you a curveball. Ken wants to know these questions beforehand, but I don't like to give it to him beforehand.
So hold on, before we get to the curveball then.
Okay.
Last week, we were supposed to do this last week, this live. Yeah. We had a scheduling conflict, got screwed up, and I had a bunch of questions come in because I had posted the sticker on Instagram. Yep. And then I didn't screenshot any of the questions, and I lost them after 24 hours. But there's one that I do remember, and we can kind of cover that one before.
Okay.
Someone had asked, is it better to, or should I repaint my cabinets or have all my cabinetry redone? Okay. And this is a big question, right? There's a lot here. So the quick answer would be, yes, repainting them is a lot more affordable than rebuilding everything, right? So things that go into this though are you happy with the design, the layout of your kitchen, your appliances, the door styles, the sizes of everything? There's a lot to consider. If you're not happy and you want, to really up the functionality of your kitchen, maybe just update it in general, you're probably gonna want to rip out the old stuff and put all new cabinetry in. Yeah. If you like the layout and it's working for you, the cabinets are in good shape, then you just want a little bit of a refresh, then yeah, painting them would probably be the way to go for you. So it's really just depends on the person and the situation, budget. All right, now you can dig into your...
We got some questions, so maybe we'll save that for last. Hard or soft pad on your Festool 6-inch sander?
We actually use a hard pad so that we're not rolling a lot of those edges. We do have a series of soft pads. They're on the shelf here behind me so that we can sand different profiles or, sometimes very rarely are we doing something that we want it wavy, and having a little bit of texture to it. So typically, I would say 95% of the time, hard pad, and then we have the soft pads to use here and there.
Was there a high dollar tool that you've bought that did not meet your expectations?
Yeah, I mean, nothing's jumping out at me off the top of my head, but I think here I'm gonna ruffle quite a bit of feathers. Love the Festool stuff, but I think a lot of it is a little bit overpriced for the value, or I guess I'm not seeing the value there.
Specific tool?
The first thing that comes to mind is like the Carvex or the Jigsaw. There's equal or better out there for a better price point, in my opinion.
All right, there you go.
All the questions that I got today on the live were about you.
Regarding the way I look, I assume?
Nope. One of them said they wanted to see you build a cabinet, and others were just saying, why is Doug?
Why is Doug? Well, how much time do you have? I could build a cabinet if I had to.
Doug has been building this masonry wall in his backyard, topped with wood.
Yep.
And it's coming out quite nicely. I've seen some of the cabinets that you've kind of built in your house, and by built I mean took extras from here and just made work.
I have a very, very nice cabinet in my room. Ken made.
Slight modification, golden.
Yeah, it works. When doing a project, when do you consider it done? Time frame, labor costs play a factor.
Yeah, I mean, of course, there's money and time frame that always plays a factor into this kind of stuff, right? We can't be overworking the project and continue to just keep working and working and working for free or to eat these costs, right? And every day that the lights are on in here is costing money.
Right.
So when we consider a project done is when I guess maybe we're a little bit more meticulous about this than maybe some other shops, but the project has to be 100% complete to our satisfaction when we consider it done. We don't hold ourselves to that timeline or that budget too tightly. I mean, obviously it's a consideration in the whole thing, but really once the project is 100% done to our satisfaction, we're proud to send it out the door, put our name on it, and have it be seen by the people who are paying for it, frankly. Right. We don't want to disappoint anybody, so we're making sure that it's 100%.
All right. Does material thickness affect overall cabinet size when you use CNC, mortise intended method?
Yeah, I mean, we ran into an issue here with some of the laminate stuff that we're using where it was slightly oversized, and it was accounted for during CNC, so as long as you are accounting for these varying thicknesses, you should be fine. If you're going to build a 30-inch wide cabinet and you're accounting in your measurements for 3/4 sides, right? So now your interior is 28.5. Maybe your pieces are a little bit wider or smaller than that 3/4. We all know a 3/4 panel isn't a full 3/4, so you end up losing about a 1/16. So you have to make sure you're accounting for this stuff. With the laminated product we just bought, it was actually proud by a 1/16, so a little bit in the opposite direction for us. Right. So just making sure you're accounting for this stuff so you don't end up with a cabinet like the run that I'm looking at here. I think it's 8 cabinets long. If we added a 1/16 to each one, we're going to be quite a bit oversized at the end of the project, Right. Same in the reverse. If we were under a 1/16 the whole way, we would be quite a bit short at the end of the run.
Matt Moore chimed in and said he heard the same about the Capex. Makita barrel grip, is that a type of?
Yeah, I mean the barrel grip. I think they have a few different tools that have the barrel grip on there. I could be wrong, but yeah, the Capex. Also, not my favorite miter saw. Great saw, don't get me wrong. It has a lot of great features. I've heard a lot of people say it was underpowered too. We're not doing a ton of huge stock here, but I do feel it bogged down a little bit. One of the things that I have actually heard somebody say is that when they plug it into the vacuum, the Festool CT or whatever they are, that those vacuums actually they have a lower amperage than the actual saw. So the saw is not being fully powered as is when you're running it through the vacuum. Something to this effect. Okay. So I think maybe some people are having an issue with that. We plug ours directly into, the wall power. So that's not an issue that we're having. But have heard that might be a cause of the problem. Yeah.
Okay. New kitchen cabinets. Advice on floors that are unlevel by 1.5 inch over 17 feet.
I mean, we've had worse. We've had a lot worse. So with something like that, typically what I would do is I would find my kind of middle point, and I would set my finished counter height. For us, it's 36 inches at that center point, so that you don't have a full, 1.5 inch difference from one edge to the other. Right. I mean, it is, but you're not plus or minus that 36 inches by a full 1.5 inches. So you're 3/4 light on one side and you're 3/4 proud on the other. Sure, over that span you're 1.5 inches off, but it's not like you're at 37.5 inches or way too high or way too low on the opposite side. So always trying to find that kind of middle ground there.
Okay. All right. The questions are kind of dried up a little bit, so I'm going to hit you with this. For you, Ken, you have a blank slate.
Okay.
How are you designing your kitchen? What kind of finishes are you using? What kind of hardware or no hardware? Kind of walk us through a Ken DeCost kitchen for you. Not for a client, but for you.
Okay, so I mean, I did my kitchen a couple years ago.
All right. So I'm saying budget.
Yep, so I've learned from a few of my mistakes. Yeah. I was going on the more budget-friendly side. We're not going to be here in this house too long, so we didn't want to totally redo the layout. So we kept what was existing, and just basically updated all the appliances, cabinetry, and everything. I went with kind of a transitional where it's an overlay shaker style. I like that style personally. I do like very traditional as well. I do like really modern, so I kind of like being able to do all three. So I think I would probably stick with the kind of transitional or modern side of it for my personal kitchen. Okay. I would keep hardware. I'm a fan of the actual handles and pulls over the touch latches personally. Yep. Do enjoy making them. A lot of the integrated pulls are kind of fun to do, and they bring on their own set of challenges, which is great. Appliances, I mean, I like the paneled appliances. In my personal house right now, I don't have them, so it's probably something that I would kind of flip and go with the panelized appliances.
What color? Natural, black?
I love me some wood, but I painted my kitchen white. Wow. Yeah, I'd probably stick with either white.
Bold choice.
I mean,
not a lot of people do that.
I'd like black or a dark gray, but our house currently was super dark in the kitchen anyway, so we needed to brighten it up. Okay. And really just going to depend on the room. So
Sam just chimed in and said, first we talked to the wife. Sorry, Sam, I did not consult Sam with that question first.
Well, now everybody's wondering who Sam is.
I'll have to find out.
Now you'll have to go to @SammyLuhu and figure it out, right?
Is there a current style out there that you're kind of into? Not so much trend, but is there like a style you're kind of maybe weren't a fan of and you're kind of a fan of now that you've worked on a kitchen in that style? Something like, what I mean?
Yeah, I think it's got to be like the modern flat panel stuff. At first I was kind of, it looks a bit sterile, right? Especially if it's white, it might feel like going into like a doctor's office or something. But over the last, 5 years or so, it's really grown on me. We've gotten to do a lot of really cool flat panel projects, and I dig that modern style.
Okay, all right, flat panel. Are you experiencing material allocations?
We're not. I have heard a lot of people I know, well, here in the shop we're not. In the field we definitely are. We're hit with the same kind of 2x4 increase, the Home Depot type of plywood increase, that stuff. Here in the shop, we've talked about this a few times on here now. Yeah. We're not, it hasn't caught up with this kind of material yet, the materials that we're using. I have started to kind of see people trickling in that some of the imported hardware from Europe is kind of drying up in certain places, that it's difficult to get. We personally haven't had this issue yet, but I wouldn't be surprised if it starts to build. And actually just this morning I was talking to my buddy Aaron Cash from Fine Line. They're out in Indy, and he was kind of giving me the heads up from one of their suppliers that a few of the MDFs and plywoods that they're using are starting to kind of dry up. Manufacturers have put like a hold on newer orders until they can catch up. So we'll see. It seems like it might be finally starting to hit, our little corner of the world here, the cabinet making side of it. But hopefully we're on the tail end of this whole, issue anyway. So hopefully it's not too much longer that we're stuck dealing with it, and we can push through it pretty quickly. But I think it's coming, unfortunately.
Okay. So sad news on that front.
Sid.
Yeah. Best quality drawer slides.
Best quality drawer slides. We are pretty much solely using Bloom products and undermounts. I don't even know if they make a side mount. I don't think so. Just undermount is nice. It's smooth operating. They are hidden, so you don't have to see them. And Bloom makes great products, so that's who we continue to use. It's who we like to stand by. So,
all right.
Bloom.
All right, I think we'll end it right here, this last thing here. The last 2 times we've done this, I've kind of asked you like a big picture question.
Here we go.
Are there things happening in cabinetry or in woodworking in general that are bad for craftsmanship?
I don't know how to say this, but I think like people selling products that are subpar and kind of bringing down, and this isn't anything new, kind of bringing down the whole ship, right? A lot of people are cautious when it comes to any type of construction, because everybody has a horror story from a friend or a relative, something. Oh, I hired this contractor, they were garbage, and the project went to hell.
Yep.
So I think as the DIY kind of industry area of this whole industry becomes more and more popular. I don't want to say that they're hacks. I know I've firsthand seen a lot of like DIY people who do great work.
Right.
But I think that people are kind of getting this, I don't want to call it like a false sense of
That's what I was just about to say.
Yeah,
It's false sense.
And maybe they're selling products that aren't great, or undercutting pricing. Well, what are you undercutting for that price? Is it skills? Is it knowledge? Is it quality materials? What is it? And is the end user going to suffer and then have that same kind of like, oh, I'm not going to have custom work done because of X, and that same kind of horror story, and we just kind of continue down this path.
Okay.
What about you? You
No,
seen anything?
Well, actually, it's something you pointed out to me, and I thought it's what you were going to reference.
Okay, let's hear it.
So I don't know who posted it, but something like installing a new kitchen for under $1,000.
Oh, yeah,
something along those lines.
It was some just like a YouTube gimmick I saw as like a up next on one of our videos.
Right.
And I'm like, it's so funny to kind of juxtapose the two, right? Our kitchens and then how to build a kitchen for $1,000. And it's like, there's no way. But that ties exactly into what I'm saying.
Right.
If you're building a kitchen for $1,000, one, it's tiny, right? And what are you doing for materials?
Yeah.
Like I can't buy materials for that price.
Right.
So you're sacrificing a lot of stuff. Labor's free. Materials are what fell off the back of a truck. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I think you see that in a lot outside of the construction industry. There's a lot of people who kind of prop up and claim to be an expert in something, and they've developed this big following, and they might be taking money from someone to push a product that may or may not be a good thing. And I think it's something across the board happening, not just in DIY.
No, for sure. And I think it probably even goes way outside just the woodworking and construction industry too. I mean, we've all seen or purchased products that have kind of fallen into this category as well, So I don't think, again, that's anything new.
All right. Well, real quick, this person has a good insight here. My 1-year-old play kitchen was almost $1K, so let's put that in perspective.
Nick for a while talked about building custom kitchens for play area things for like children.
Hey, all right, now we got a price point to start.
1K. What can we build?
Well, there you have it. New episode revealed on Wednesdays on the NS Builders YouTube.
Cool.
See what we've got going on.
Thanks for watching, guys.
All right.
Always leave us some comments on there, and if you have any more questions for this segment, please drop them in there and let us know.
We'll try to go live again this Friday. This Friday.
I don't know. Do we need to schedule this right now?
No, but maybe.
All right.
Thank you.
See you guys. Thanks. Structurally support those doors. Da, 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 da.